All right, let's move on to the fantasy segment of today's podcast. And if you like the content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like the video. And you can also follow us over on Twitter at BallBoysNBA for some quick takes that we'll be throwing out there. Mostly myself on Twitter over there for our opinions when things come up quickly. All right, so on our fantasy take today, we are talking the top 20 players. We're just going to highlight a few key players in that group. If we think that the trends are going to continue. I want to contrast this to some of the ADP of players taken at the draft at the start of the season and see who's been sort of the biggest bargains to start the season. So running through the list, this is based on Basketball Monster, by the way, as well. So if you want to go to that website, check it out. It's got some good punting tools that you can use there that I use a lot for my fantasy team. But running through from 1 to 20, at 1, we've got Nikola Jokic. 2, Kawhi Leonard. 3, Kevin Durant. 4, Kyrie Irving. 5, Joel Embiid. 6, CJ McCollum, even though he's been injured, we've still included him. 7, Miles Turner, who's a big surprise. 8, Damian Lillard. 9, Steph Curry. 10, Bradley Beal. 11, James Harden. 12, Fred VanVleet, who before today was not in this list. Zach LaVine at 13, 14, Nikola Vucevic, 15, Paul George, 16, Anthony Davis, 17, Christian Wood, 18, Malcolm Brogdon, 19, Chris Middleton, and 20, Jason Tatum. Now, we've also obviously not included Karl Anthony Towns because he's only played 4 games, so we just set a 10-game minimum limit. So I'll throw it over to you, Cal. What's the players that stand out to you in this list?
The ones that stand out, I'll start maybe with just the number one player in Nikola
Yeah.
Jokic. He is killing it, and which is great to see because historically he'd always start the season a bit slow.
Yes.
But like I guess for the bubble, he slimmed down and he's really just been balling since day one.
Maybe
Putting
he just
up.
hates. Maybe he just hates October and November. Maybe he's just like a Christmas dude.
Maybe you're onto something there. Maybe
He
you're
just
onto
likes
something.
Christmas. Yeah, I don't know.
But he is carrying a really good team. The Nuggets have had a bit of a hot streak now. They're up to 12-8.
Yep.
But he's putting up like 27 points, about 12 rebounds, almost 9 assists. He was averaging a triple double for about the first month.
Yeah.
His assist has dropped down a bit, but his steals is still elite at 1.8. He always has been pretty good at steals. Blocks are pretty bad for a big man, but with everything else, and the field goal is just so elite as well for your team. He just doesn't really hurt you much aside from turnovers, and he's just been a killer.
Yeah, he's been a positive in literally every single category except for threes is a minor negative and blocks is only just a negative. But literally borderline positive in literally every single category except for turnovers. So he is someone who, yeah, look, we highlighted in our our sort of top 10 players that Jokic is someone that starts the season late. Hasn't happened this year. He's been on fire, and he was an ADP of 7. So that's some big value if you drafted him. And I know you did, Cal. I'm sure you pat yourself on the back, but someone who has shot up the rankings, and that's a huge jump. Going from the 7th ranked player to the number 1 player is a massive jump because the difference in some of those top level guys can be pretty big. So congrats if you drafted Nikola Jokic.
Did you reckon he'll maintain it? Did you see him dropping off a bit?
I don't know if I trust those steals. I think 1.8 is. I don't think it's going to be there. I think he's closer to a 1 steal a game kind of guy, which is still solid for a big man. But 1.8 is huge. Like if I look at his, it's up there with in line with his assists and rebounds value on Basketball Monster. It's a like 2 standard score. So that's providing huge value for him. So I think that will drop, and potentially the assists may come down slightly. So he may not finish as the number 1 player, but I think he's probably going to be a top 3.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I totally agree. The steals probably come down, but everything else, I don't see why he can't really maintain what he's doing. He's put together an MVP season.
Yeah, 100%. He looks motivated and he's playing big minutes and putting up stats. One guy, look, there's one dude in here of anyone in this top 20 list that's sticking out to me that just seems stupid obvious, and it's Miles Turner. This dude, he's still in there. He's ranked 7th overall, 8th if you include Karl Anthony Towns. And it's obviously off the back of his blocks. 3.9 blocks a game, which is a career high. Can this dude keep up like over 3.5 blocks a game for the whole season? Do you think you can do it?
Maybe he can maintain. Like right now, he's on 3.9, so I see that falling off. But look, maybe at the end when it's all said and done, he could have say that like low threes, like 3-1,
Yeah.
3-2. Just because he has been maintaining it, and we've seen players do it before in modern history. You got someone like I don't know Serge Ibaka or Hassan
Well,
Whiteside put up some
just
stats
last
like
year,
that.
Hassan Whiteside was doing it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's doable.
definitely, it's definitely doable. Like at the start of the season, he was averaging over 4, and you can see it slowly start to come down. Every now and again, he'll have a 6 block game or something stupid. But even just him going from 3.9 to 3 blocks a game is going to cut his value fairly significantly, just because it is such a highly concentrated stat. Um, yeah, it's like so far and away his most positive category. He is actually only a positive contributor in 3 other categories. That's rebounds, steals, and field goal percentage. Um, and turnovers and they're all sort of under 1 standard score away from being negative. So it's really the blocks that's floating up his value. And obviously, if you need the blocks, he's great for your team. But if you don't need the blocks, he's literally, outside the top 50. He's not even close to relevant to you. So just someone who I want to highlight and sort of, I think he's definitely someone. We'll talk about sell highs later. You can't really sell high because if you want blocks, he's given it to you, and I think he will continue to give that to you for the entire season. So I think you just sort of enjoy the ride when you got Miles Turner inside the top 10. But I think that will definitely drop off.
I see him dropping back to like that kind of 20-ish value when the blocks do drop down to about that 3 game, 3.1. He'll probably be the late teens, 18, 19.
Yeah, I actually see him falling outside the top 20. I think he'll be close towards like 30, in my opinion. Even if the blocks do stay high, I just think it's such a big difference between 4 blocks and 3 blocks a game in terms of rankings. So, anyone else stand out to you, Cal?
Yeah, look, Freddie VanVleet just got boosted up into the top 20
Oof.
after today's performance.
Yeah.
He's been performing pretty well. The 11 points he put up today are pretty damn impressive. But I don't know. I just
11 threes, you mean?
Yeah. I wouldn't expect that to be maintained. But he's putting up, about 3.4 of those a game, which is elite. His best categories are that 3 category and the steals as well, which he did maintain that last season. So there's a common trend at 1.8. So I still feel like he top 13 talent? No, I think he'll be the back end of the 20s. He'll put up a season similar to I think last season where he'll be. I think it was around a 30-ish kind of value, just because of the threes and the steals were so elite. But he does hurt you in kind of field goal a fair bit, and the rebounds do hurt a bit as well. So I see him dropping out.
I'll read out his averages. 20.4 points per game, 3.4 threes, 4.3 rebounds, 6.2 assists, 1.8 steals, 0.7 blocks, field goals shooting 42% and 88% from the free throw line. And he's only having 1.8 turnovers per game. I don't really know. Now, the blocks are high at 0.7 for a guard. So I think that will drop. But outside of that, I can see him maintaining these numbers. I honestly don't think that those are unrealistic for him to maintain. Now, obviously, he had a huge game today. But as an average over 21 games, I think that that's something that he can sustain. And I genuinely think he is a shot for a top 20 finish this season. He was close to it last year. I think he was ranked 25th or something last year. And I think that this year, Kyle Lowry's gotten that 1 year older. So I think he's just moving into that primary guard role. And on a struggling Raptors team, he's sort of just trying to pull them over the line, get to the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 20 player this year.
I do say I think his turnovers will go up. That 1.8, I think his usage might go up a bit more. Or like he's taken really well, he's taken care of the ball.
2.2 last year.
Yeah. So 1.8 is elite to get your 6.2 assists. So he's doing well there, but I still feel like that's going to jump up a bit. His threes could come down a little bit. And I still feel, I don't know, his free throw percentage at 88%. I guess he always does do that, but what's his attempts like? He's putting up 3 a game, which isn't amazing.
It's not huge, yeah. He put up more attempts last year. So, look, I think he's obviously elevated slightly, but I I'm not confident to say that this is not just who he is now, and he's just taken that next step into his game. Like I said, I think Kyle Lowry being a year older is a big factor to that. The only thing that I can really see is that those blocks should come down. He's actually in a positive if we talk about like being in terms of value. He's a positive in blocks, and last year he only averaged 0.3 blocks. This year he's over doubled that, so I do see that coming back down. He's had a few games where he's had multiple, like he had 3 blocks today. So I don't think that's going to continue, which may drop his value down. But if you drafted him, you're not drafting for blocks anyway, so who cares? I do want to highlight just one more player in this list here, and well, the guy who is at number 17, Christian Wood. Now he had an ADP of 45 this preseason, so that makes it a 28 ranking jump to get him to the 17th ranked player. Do you think that he is someone that we should view as a top 20 player moving forward?
I'm looking at his stats. He's been consistent. So I'll say yes. The one downside will be if for some reason defenses kind of like figure him out because he hasn't been doing it for very long. Obviously, it's only been about a month this season, a month last season. Maybe something clicks for some kind of defensive strategy against him. So there's potential for that, but there's no signs of it. I have faith that he probably will end pretty similar to where he is right now at that, 18, 19, 17, whatever you're going to say around that area. Just because, I mean, like I've been watching some of those Houston games. He is a bucket. He can shoot over people efficiently too. He hits threes. He gets the 1.7 blocks. He's long, so he can get the blocks. I don't really see how much of that would drop off. But as I said, look, it's still kind of a small sample size.
Yeah. I know I highlighted him in my sort of sleeper draft. I think from memory, I think you disagree with me slightly. I think he's looking like to me, I think he's a top 20 player. I think he's looking like he's going to be a second round draft pick next year. Like I said, this all looks sustainable to me. Maybe his field goal percentage drops slightly without James Harden being there, and he's taking more of the shots in the offense. But I think his free throw percentage could improve as well. So he's shooting 69%. Last year he shot 74.5%. So I think that could come up, and his scoring will sort of be around that level. And he's only averaging 32.5 minutes. I know they're playing Boogie Cousins a bit there as well. So maybe that's why his minutes aren't sort of at the 35, 36 level mark. But, should he increase those minutes, he's got further to actually even be better than this. So I think this is who he is. So for those of you who drafted him in the 40s in the 4th round, I think you guys got a big bargain on your hands. So congratulations. Any other one else you want to touch on, or before we move on, or pretty happy?
I'm pretty content with it. I guess we can do an honorable mention to good old Giannis, who obviously would be in the top 20 if it wasn't for the terrible free throw percentages that he affects your team on. So
yeah,
when you take those things into consideration, obviously it's all about the punt stuff. So you could throw someone like your Andre Drummond up there if you were punting that too, but it depends on your build.
Yeah. So yeah, I did have some honorable mentions or noticeably absent players. So Giannis is there. If you're punting free throws, he's the 8th ranked player. So obviously that's just how rankings work. Free throws, it's a negative stat. So he is right down there, but 8 if you don't care about that category. Devin Booker is another one who is ranked 100th at the moment. Having a really poor season in terms of fantasy. He's not doing too bad in real life, but 46th if you're punting blocks and turnovers, so still not really very close to where you drafted him. So he's looking like someone that, with Chris Paul coming in, might have affected him more than we anticipated. I think he'll be better than this, but definitely someone who looks like he was overdrafted this year. Trae Young is another one who was sort of selected in the first round. He's ranked 44th in the season, but he is ranked 15th when you're punting field goal percentage and turnovers. So huge negatives for him there. So if you draft Trae Young, you are punting his category. So he is, whilst being disappointing, still not horrible when you're in that punt. And then the last one is LeBron James, who's ranked 34th. And that, again, is free throw percentage. So if you punt that category, he's 18th overall. So he would be in this top 20 list. So still think he might have been overdrafted, but sort of where I sort of expected him to be this season.
Yeah, there's some good names there. There's definitely some good names there.
Yeah, but I think Devin Booker's the one who I'm the most uneasy about.